Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new segment we're calling Five Questions. I'm here with Kimberly Ocampo-Shah, co founder and creative director of emotional content. Today, we're going to be talking about fears small business owners may have when creating their business or trying to tell their story. So, starting off, Kim has some experience with, creating a small business, and I really want to know what are the kind of fears that you or other small business owners have expressed when they first are starting out.
I'm a small business owner myself, and throughout my going on 5 years this year, and even before this year, we've all experienced the same things. There's been a very clear through line in starting to tell our story. So I very much empathize with them and sympathize with them in the very human fears that we express in starting to tell our story on camera. Just telling our story to our friends is one thing, but when that camera starts hitting record, we start to like bottle up. We start to be very fearful because we fear that the world is looking at us and judging us in a very different way. And maybe it's different for you, right? Like other people might see me as an extrovert. And actually, I don't think that I'm an extrovert. I'm an extrovert in certain situations, but sometimes it's very hard for me to express myself, or sometimes I feel like I don't have my story straight, or I'm not very clear about what I want to say. But when I'm passionate about what I'm good at or expressing my own story, it just comes out of me because I know my stuff. And I think that the most common misconception is that they have to have that clarity packaged up and bundled up, especially when they start to work with me. They don't have to have all of that clarified because the thing is all I have to do is just ask them. They don't have to have mastered the craft of storytelling because that's not their expertise. They naturally just talk about the things that they're passionate about and fired up about in the first place. I mean, there's a reason why they went into their business or they started pursuing what they do and what they love in the first place. All I have to do is ask them about it. Go further into to asking why or what sparks them or what lights them up or what drives them.
What do you think holds them back from sharing that story?
I think what holds them back is probably not knowing where to start, or feeling like they don't have the resources or they don't know who can help them. If they are trying to figure out like on social media, right? They feel like what they see online is a bunch of influencers or people who have their stories figured out or crystal clear or people who have told their stories perfectly because the algorithm has served that to them because they're the right target market for that particular influencer. And they're like, oh, I'm getting served the right kind of story, but there's no way that I could have done that myself. And so they can't kind of bridge that gap between what that story is and from where they need to and from where they're starting. So they can't comprehend what it takes to be able to just start. And the most important thing for them to know is that they just have to start telling their story. One person said to me, one very influential person I heard talking in a speech said, "You know what? Experts have to just keep doing what they're doing every day, be as authentic as they need to and just hit record and just put it on camera and just document what they do because then the world can see their expertise."
I feel like a lot of the times being in front of a camera means you have to perform or put on an act. And this is exactly the opposite of that. Like, you're not doing any of that. You're literally just hitting record and showing people what you're doing, showing people, your business. It's not a performance or anything like that.
No, because people can already tell visually where you are, what the setting is, what the action is that you're doing, and then they can kind of infer what kind of an expert you are.
Yeah.
You're not going to see the entire picture in that entire story, but you're going to see small digestible segments within what you showed just then and there.
Thinking about kind of reflecting back on your start, what initial struggles did you have in trying to navigate like where to start telling your story? Like how did you figure that out?
You know what, for me when I started, like, I just I just needed to show what I could do, and I needed to be able to just show samples and work, and I needed somebody to be able to trust me and give me and be able to give me a chance to be able to show the kind of craftsmanship and kind of care in the kind of storytelling that I could do, because I very much like been inspired by very human, very authentic stories. Like, I'm obviously married to my co-founder, who is an actor and a screenwriter, somebody who's had a background in the arts and making films. So a lot of the tastes that we have are in long form cinema. We actually got our start when we had our initial client, which was our neighbor and our dear friend Charmaine Head of Turbo Farms. And so when we wanted to make a proof of concept, which was a brand video, we said, hey, Charmaine, let's just go and film your story during magic hour. Could you imagine this? Like, just walking through your flower farm in the back of your yard, just like walking in a beautiful dress, going through the dahlias and just telling us about your passion project and about how you got your start in filming flowers, and just tell us about your life and why you decided to make a change in your life, and why you're doing this and what your mission and your goals are. And, one thing with that story led to another, and then we kind of developed a really kind of like beautiful long-term relationship from that. And I started to, manage her brand and develop that story. And I really learned that she was somebody who needed to really teach people the craft of cultivating, gathering, and creating, and really getting into the weeds and creating something beautiful, what you could harvest and cultivate from the earth, out of her own backyard, out of her soil. And Yasmin, that's something that you've been able to actually see and experience
Yeah.
through our time and through knowing each other.
Mhm.
I mean, you've kind of been part of that story, right? And you've seen what that's been like.
Yeah, and she has really like her whole brand has quite literally pun intended blossomed from
Yeah.
out that one video.
Yeah. And you've kind of seen like the quality of that over, like, and just being able to tell your brand in a quality way. Like, 5 years later, it's kind of opened doors for her.
Yeah.
And it's been recognized. And after 5 years, it's gotten the kind of recognition that it deserves, because her entire YouTube channel is turned into 5 nominations from the Taste Awards, and 2 wins for the best instructional web series and for the best series filmed at home. And so, this is something that, it's validation,
Mhm.
not something that I need, but something that I know that I want to be able to help people do, which is to help people find their voice and help them to craft their stories in ways that help them to really fulfill their mission and find their audience and grow in ways that they've never really expected before. And it really helps me to fulfill my purpose, which is helping them find their story, help them build their business, help them really find their voice and build their brand.
I was just about to get into that because a lot of these small business owners are not on camera all the time or are not comfortable in front of a camera. So how do you help them or empower them to be comfortable enough to be authentic and real and not cover up or be shy for the camera? How do you help them and empower them?
Baby steps. It's just not easy. Like, I tell them honestly, but tell them to be themselves, and I just try to make them as comfortable as possible. And I want them to be authentic, and I never want to just put them in front of a camera and not prep them and get them in front of a teleprompter and tell them to read lines. I just really want them to talk freely about their business and about their passions. And so whenever I'm asking them to tell a brand story, the one thing that I want to be able to do is make sure that I can just curate my interviews and make sure that I just ask them the right questions. Right? Just much in the same way as you're doing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You need to really hone in on your soft skills and the way that you work with people, right? You need to make sure that you're making people feel seen, you're making them feel valuable, and that their story is important to you. Because the more that you can connect with them and the more that you value their story and the more that you can honor them and make their light shine, right? The more comfortable that you make them feel, the better that the story will turn out.
Mm-hmm. Is there any area you feel like small business owners struggle in telling that, like, their brand story?
They have to be able to carve the time to be able to start telling the story for themselves, because a lot of times small business owners are spending too much time working in their business and not spending the time focusing on themselves and putting themselves in a position to be able to show themselves as the leader in their business, right? And I struggle with the same thing. Sometimes I'm spending too much time behind the scenes. Like I have the same issue myself. I'm too much working with the crew, too much behind the camera. But a lot of times I haven't had enough moments like this where I'm developing and working on my own craft, getting interviewed myself, like as a leader, right? It's been so long where I haven't had my own FaceTime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it is super important, really. It's been like 5 years where it's like, oh, I'm the person who's like helped to really craft this.
Yeah.
But it's super important to be able to be the person who's the leadership of the company and not be the person who's behind the scenes all the time. It's so important that as a leader and the founder that you make the time to be able to show up in front of the camera, because it's your customers and your patrons who want to know that it's you, it's the real authentic person that they want to be able to trust, and because they're investing their time and it's their experiences that they're investing in you and your business, your values. So that's the number one thing that I feel like small business owners and business owners in general, that they don't do enough for themselves, and something that I've had to be able to invest in, to make sure that I'm spending in time on this side of the camera.
And how do you find that balance? What is the right balance?
I don't know the exact balance, but I do feel like I do at least half the time. Like any business owner, I do feel like they do need to spend more time not working in their business, but on their business, right? And they need to show themselves as the leader, and their customers and the consumers, they need to see that too.
Because half of it is about customers and consumers and who is getting this product or whatever service, and half of it is the service itself. So
Right. Thought leadership. They need to people it's about trusting and being the face of the company.
Mhm.
Yeah. How many questions has that been?
More than 5?
Don't matter anymore.
Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation talking about small business owners and kind of the struggles that they deal with when publishing their brand. Thank you to Kimberly Ocampo-Shah for joining us. Catch us next time on our new segment for 5 questions in the next video.
Bye.